Thank you very much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having us.
And you know, this morning we started the day with a 9-year-old girl having a keynote in front of everybody and in front of the live stream. And today we have you here because at day one it's important to give the voice to everyone, and obviously, youth has a voice in it. You are millennials, right? You are 21, you are 26. Mobility means a lot for you. You travel all around. You work in different places. You speak different language. You are Chinese, right? Ni hao, zhen xini wo hen gao xin. It means I'm pleased to meet you. And she lives in Paris now, where she's data analyst. And you are from Singapore. So how do we say hello in Singapore?
Well, we have 4 different languages, so there's different ways of it, but Mandarin's one of them, for instance. Ni hao is one of them. So yeah, that's...
So many language, many community. This is also something that we talked about this morning. The digital era is in an era of communities, but we do not necessarily belong to one specific community. We can belong to many of them. And the interesting thing is how technology can actually bring people together. You are the president of the Singapore Association of Students in France.
The Singapore Students Association in France.
So should I call you Mr. President?
Maybe not. I try to be more humble
Still,
sometimes.
I will call you Mr. President. So, can you please give us your view? Are you enthusiastic about this digital transformation, or can you understand the fear that some people can feel regarding this massive change because it's a revolution? What do you think? What are your communities also?
Well, I think firstly, the fact that as young people and being described as disruptive changers is sort of derogatory in many ways, because we're not disruptive in a way. Businesses should adapt, communities should adapt to what we want as across the world. And coming from Singapore, where the government has initiated these projects called smart cities, where we have technological advancements in terms of integrating more technology and digitizing how we live. So that has an impact on how many Singaporeans live. So one thing is people are more likely to use digital forms of payment, for instance. They have different ways of shopping. Instead of going to stores, they're more likely to shop on Amazon because there is a need for an easy way of, or ease into how we live our lifestyles. Going to different countries, using these different applications make our lives much easier. So in my sense, coming from Singapore, community means actually talking to different people, to engage in different people, and businesses shouldn't sort of describe us as disruptive changes, but they should interact with us, engage in dialogue, and find a way that actually fits both of our objectives.
It is true that from a European point of view, when we think of Singapore and China, we think that everybody is connected, everybody is using the technology, maybe even more than in other parts of the world. Can you agree on that? And also, I forgot to mention that you are a student in International Master in Security.
At Sciences Po, yeah.
At Sciences Po. So this brings also the issue of the privacy, of how people might be scared of losing the privacy, the data. Is it controlled? Is it safe? This is also something in the air, and you as a data analyst, maybe you have a view on that?
Yeah, I think all of us, this generation, were born in the digital era, and there is tons of amount of data is coming out because of the digitalization of everything. So, for example, 10 years ago, there wasn't even any jobs like digital marketing, or maybe 15 years ago, or a data analyst or data scientist is never in demand as today, is thanks to the digitalization. And I also want to talk about because when you just mentioned, you said when you think of Asia, like China or Singapore, you think we are more connected, which is true, because the digital community in China is the reason behind why China is leading the social commerce game in the world, which means like in Europe or in the West, we are still in the phase of e-commerce, while in China, let's use WeChat, this app, as an example. So if I'm chatting with my friend, she sends me a QR code, I click on it, and then I will land in the page within WeChat, and then I buy the stuff, and then make the transactions, everything within one app. So which means you embed the commerce in the social, and also you give the social life an extra dimension. So yeah, I think we are very digitalized.
Do you think it's also a matter of culture, that maybe some countries adapt more easily, they innovate more easily, they accept change more easily? As you come from China, you come from Singapore, you both live in France. Do you see a gap in the culture? And if yes, how do you see the gap being closed eventually?
Yeah, I think when it comes to social media in particular, let's say in the West, in the Western culture, people use it because you want to be connected or stay in touch with the people you met at uni, or you want to post some selfies or travel. When it comes to Chinese people, there is sociologically is more thoughtful than that. Basically, for people who are basically isolated in the vast market and with one-child policy, which my generation. So we really use social media as a form of power when it comes to consumption, for example.
And I like to mention, like, social media is a form of power in Singapore as well. We use that to communicate with different people, especially Singaporeans in Paris. Many times we don't even know there's other Singaporeans, and the way we interact is through social media. So Facebook would be one of them, through messaging apps as well. So that's how we sort of interact and find different peoples that share sort of the same values or come from the same place that we do. But I also think that social media is a form of, it's making us lose power in many ways, because as a young person, I'm concerned about the privacy rights that my data is being used by by businesses where they might exploit it. And another key issue for me is how does digital technology excavate existing inequalities that we have, particularly in Singapore or particularly in other countries where minorities might be targeted, or it has to be in the way we interact or the way we develop technology should take into consideration equity in many ways. Social equity is one of the pillars that we should develop in terms of giving universal access, free and equitable access to everyone.
Totally, and this is actually the topic of Day One. How can we bring digital and technology for the good, for people, and put the people at the center of this revolution and not the other way around? So this is actually, maybe this is why you undertook this master, to try to save your data, and maybe you're gonna find some application or some tool we can use so that...
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm very much concerned about where our world is going in terms of digital technology, in terms of advancements. But I also think that in a way, digital technology is not it's not good or bad. It's a toolkit. It's for us to use it. It's neither good or bad. It's how we apply that. And in many ways, for instance, I recently read a report that said that artificial intelligence technology meets all the criteria for the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals currently pioneered by the UN. So in a way, we need to sort of find a way for us to balance both privacy rights and finding a way to empower people of all backgrounds, regardless of any social standing. So that's one of my main concerns as a young person. And I mean, there's other things as well. I mean, climate change, disaster relief, and as watching or going on social media, watching television, going on social media, that sort of worries me in the next couple of decades. Where exactly is my life going to be? Like, is it going to be better or is it going to be worse? So essentially, the reason why I took up political science, or the reason why I took up international security, is because I'm very much concerned about these and where my life or my future peers are going to be.
Well, this is what have been said this morning, and we keep on talking this afternoon. The idea is that we are facing challenges, we are facing some global issue we have to address, and actually technology is not an added problem. It can actually be part of the solution, because it's a tool and a mean to find a way to find solution for climate change. You mentioned the climate change. I mean, we talk about social media, but actually technology is not obviously just about social media. When we think of technology, we think of artificial intelligence. It can be applied to health, to environment, to education, to any aspect of our life. And as you said, it's about how we are going to use it. So maybe here the key factor again will be education. Education, and your generation is still under being educated. You're still a student, you're still very young. Maybe it's also your generation will have this responsibility to educate people and opinion about how we should use technology. So I think this is a very nice, I don't know, maybe Zoe, you wanted to add something as a wrap-up?
Yeah, as a wrap-up, I think so when you look at bigger picture, when it was industrialization period, there was like around 80 years transition period, which was painful. I think today we are facing a similar transition period, which is by the automation. Probably people are scared of the jobs will be replaced. But I think our job is on an individual level, company level, or government level. Our job is to be prepared for it and work on it together.
Yeah, be prepared on it, work on it together, because in any case, we don't have a choice. So let's make the best out of it, because that's the way to go. And indeed, technology and IA can be useful. It is useful and can be for the good and for the all, and it can bring people together. And this is what we're going to be talking again this afternoon. I'd like to tell you that you can find the program online. You can even ask your question if you have any question online, and it's going to be given to the speakers. Now is the time. We're going to have a break. We're going to have some rest. We're going to come back at 2, so we can start at 2. So maybe 10 minutes before, you're going to hear a bell, like at the airport, right? So this is the sign you should come back, because this afternoon is going to be very interesting. And Denis has mentioned it before, but at 1:30, there's going to be the arrival of a swim trek. They swam for 15 kilometers all the way down from Nice to Monaco, and they are collecting all the déchets, all the rubbish, all the plastic, all the bags they found in the sea. And this is a very good initiative we want to support. So let's meet them 1:30 at the Palmier Corner when we have lunch, and let's meet all again here at 2 o'clock. Thank you very much for being here. We can say thank you to all the people watching us live stream. I know my mother is here somewhere and some of my friends that cannot be here. So thank you very much, and see you later. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.